Hello from the American Bankers Association. I'm Evan Sparks, Editor-in-Chief of the ABA Banking Journal. I'm joined today by Steve Sievert. Steve is Vice President for Debit Marketing at Discover. Discover Debit is endorsed by the American Bankers Association for Signature Debit, so I'm really delighted to have Steve here at our ABA headquarters in Washington, D.C. to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the world of signature debit. Steve, welcome.
Great to be here today, Evan. Thanks for the time.
Well, I'd love it if you could kind of give us a little overview of Discover Debit. You know, we've endorsed Discover Debit for a number of years now. What are some of the key features of the program? How does it work for banks that might not be familiar with it?
Discover Debit was launched over 15 years ago to provide some additional choice in the marketplace. For years, bankers had a choice of two brands when it came to the front of the card debit brand that they could utilize, and we at Discover felt like there was an opportunity to come into the market with another choice. So we've had the Discover Debit product that is the front of the card debit brand that bankers can utilize for more than 15 years now. And the key three reasons to believe about Discover Debit really center on delivering superior net economics to our clients, simplification and efficiency in terms of managing the program, and then support that comes along with the program. And that support is a dedicated account manager, it's dedicated marketing support that are all designed to help the program thrive.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about the superior economics. Can you get into that a little bit? How does that work for people who are for banks that are using Discover Debit?
So we're all familiar with the notion that price isn't a strategy, and we believe that at Discover. But we also know our audience, and we're talking to bankers, we're selling this product to bankers, so we know price is incredibly important. And one of the ways that we compete as a challenger brand in this space is to deliver superior net economics. What exactly does that mean? That means we're highly competitive in the interchange that we deliver to banks, and we are the lowest among the debit network providers in terms of the fees we charge. And an ABA member bank not only gets the benefit of that already low all-in program fee, but they get a benefit of a discount as well for being an ABA member. And again, we know that price can't carry the day for the product throughout its entire life cycle, but competing on the economics, we believe, is incredibly important because of the nature of debit, representing for many banks anywhere from 25% to a third of net interest income. And you're going to see, as an ABA member bank, a boost to your bottom line in utilizing Discover, which can be used to invest in other areas of your bank, can be used to reward your clients in terms of how they use the debit card. And we believe very strongly in delivering that better than economic value proposition to be able to reinvest in the program overall for banks.
You also talked a little bit about the support and resources that Discover provides. Can you go into that a bit more in detail? What can banks expect in terms of the support that they will receive from Discover Debit when they were partnering with y'all?
As a challenger brand, we know we have to differentiate ourselves in many ways, and one of the key ways that we do that is through service. Bankers will get a dedicated account manager assigned to them. They don't call an 800 number to get a hold of somebody when they want to talk about a particular issue or they want to talk about better optimizing their debit program. They get an individual to call and work with directly. So there's account management support, and in addition to that, I oversee marketing for debit at Discover. We provide a dedicated marketing account manager to banks as well. So we're helping them think about ways to better engage with cardholders. We're thinking about promotions that they might run to incentivize cardholders to use their cards even more. And that support, in addition to people, comes with an online platform that banks can utilize to customize marketing materials directly to promote their debit programs. And we've seen significant success in utilizing these services, particularly on the marketing side, where during a campaign period, for example, we're able to increase the usage of the card more than 10, sometimes even 15% on a year-over-year basis, because we're really focused on marketing the debit card in that particular campaign period. And that's one of the ways that we differentiate the program. It's dedicated account management support, dedicated marketing services as well.
Yeah. You talked a bit about customization. Can you speak to the customization options that are available to banks looking to integrate Discover Debit's debit offering program into their offerings?
Well, one of the key ways that we provide some customization is we truly believe that the debit program and the debit card itself doesn't belong to us as the brand. It belongs to the bank. There is no requirement, for example, for the bank to utilize our Discover logo on the front of the card. That front of the card real estate, which is vitally important, should be owned by the bank. When the bank is interacting with their cardholders, that should be an interaction that builds the relationship between the bank and the cardholder, not the brand. Our brand takes a back seat to that relationship. We're there with the necessary technology. We're there with the ability, for example, to utilize a mobile wallet. We're there with the ability to utilize person-to-person payment functionality. But when it comes to the relationship, we are laser focused on making sure that our brand is supportive of the relationship between the bank and the cardholder.
You talked a little bit about P2P payments, mobile wallets. What other ways is Discover Debit helping to innovate and helping their banks to kind of offer the next level of service through the debit program?
Well, it starts more in-house, and what I mean by that is what we're providing in terms of services directly to the bank, things that the cardholder themselves might not be aware of. Like, for example, fraud is a huge issue in our industry. We all know that. At Discover, we believe in a collaborative approach in working together with our clients, working together with other industry partners to battle fraud. So we have functionality that is early detection on the fraud front. We provide a score in the message to the issuer to be able to decision on whether a transaction is a valid transaction or is fraudulent. That helps to identify fraud early, cut down on fraud losses. Another way that we partner from a technology perspective, specifically in the fraud space.
Do consumers ever come to the bank with questions about acceptance of Discover compared with other competitors, and how do you help the banks that are participating in the program navigate those questions?
One of the ways that we start at the very early outset of the relationship is to go into the market of the bank and do an assessment in terms of where does acceptance lie. There is still a perception in the marketplace that Discover acceptance isn't on par with the other brands, and we've worked very hard over the last several years to not only minimize that perception issue, but also increase our acceptance in those marketplaces. So when we're preparing a market, we make sure that we take a look at all of the transactions that that bank is having on their previous brand, overlay our acceptance to identify any work that we have to do to increase acceptance. And what we found, I would say, over the last 5 years in particular, is acceptance isn't the gating factor. It isn't the barrier that it used to be in the marketplace, because when we do that overlay, we oftentimes see a more than 99.5% match in terms of the transactions that we can process and accept versus the previous brand. Still means there might be a little bit of work to do to increase acceptance in that marketplace, but it isn't nearly the issue that it used to be years ago. The lingering issue is really more of a perception that is overcome when the cards are launched and cardholders are having a good experience knowing that they can use their card virtually everywhere they used the card with the previous brand.
Well, that's certainly an example of how analytics and insight can help work with the bank, help address any questions that the consumer may have. What other ways are you putting analytics and insight to work to benefit your card issuers?
We all know we live in a data-driven world. You don't make any decision today as a banker without having access to data, and certainly that holds true for the debit program as well. One of the applications, one of the tools that our Discover Debit clients get as part of working with Discover is access to our debit dashboard. And the debit dashboard provides a real-time look at the performance of the portfolio. This is done by merchant category code. It can be cut in terms of the data view by interchange revenue, looking at various factors of the performance of that program so that bankers know real time where there might be some opportunities to, say, further penetrate a particular category. Are their cardholders not using debit as much for purchase at the pump, for example? We could then partner with them to develop a marketing program that would be designed to incentivize and promote the usage of the debit card at gas stations, for example, or other everyday spend opportunities. That access to that data is incredibly valuable because it not only gives the banker a real-time look at how the program is performing, but it also gives those insights to see where the program could be performing even better into the future.
Yeah. You've given a lot of examples as part of this conversation. I'd love it if you could share maybe one or two more of your favorite success stories of issuers working with Discover Debit.
Look, it's all about delivering bottom line performance. We have got to be, as a challenger brand, better than the competitors when it comes to the bottom line impact of the Discover Debit program. And depending on the previous relationship with the other brand, we see our bankers realizing anywhere from a 10 to 15, sometimes even more than a 20% increase in the overall bottom line profitability of the debit program. And that's consistent across the board. We see that time and time again where we're able to deliver better than economics to our banks. So I want to start with that one because economics are so important. But
we are talking about bankers after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But one from a marketing point of view that I've always loved is we partnered with one of our clients on our Debit and Win It program, which is essentially a sweepstakes where anytime a cardholder uses his or her card, they're entered into a sweepstakes for a chance to win a prize. And this particular bank had a situation where one of their account holders had overdrawn his account. Never a pleasant conversation to have when you've got to call a customer and say, "Sir, you're overdrawn on your account." But it just so happened that in this particular campaign, the stars aligned in such a way that this individual who was overdrawn was also the winner of a $500 cash prize in the Debit and Win It campaign. So it was a great situation where the bank was able to make that phone call and inform that account holder, "Yes, sir, you are overdrawn by $50. So that's the bad news. But the good news is you're our winner of our Debit and Win It program, and you have $500 coming to you, or in this case, $450 coming to you." So those are great opportunities for us to be a part of, and how we love to support our Discover Debit issuers in surprising and delighting their cardholders.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming to ABA today to talk a little bit more about Discover Debit. And I learned some more about Discover Debit and the debit marketplace, and I really appreciate hearing from you today.
My pleasure. Thanks for the time.
For those of you watching, you can learn more about Discover Debit at aba.com/discoverdebit. Thanks so much for watching.